Hello guys, my name is Michael, and today we are gonna talk about two very important functions which you will need them when you are working with events. And these two functions are Gtk Widget Set Events and Gtk Widget Add Events. And which is the main difference, what the manual says, and the reference, and so on. And of course we will talk about name underscore event or name, let's say minus event, which of them are correct and which, and how is the story with these two. Okay, now before we proceed, I wanted to know that this is the same, let's say, default known program which we are using most of the time, where we create a window and then I created a button, and I connected the clicker signal to this button, and by connecting this signal I was calling GTK main quit. So when I run the program, it is only that when I click it, it's quitting, it exists. And this is everything. This is our CSS function, which we already talked about it, and so on. Okay, now let's see, before we proceed, let's start with searching information about Gdk Events, because I want to show something very interesting. Okay, I'm searching for it, and here's the event structures, and here we have event structures, which says event structures, which are data structures specific to each type of event. Here you have all those union or structs, which you should check them and see what they are, and once that you check them, you will understand how are working, because you already learned in the last tutorial about how you are using your events based on the structure you needed. One thing which I noticed, which is very important, is here. Now watch, we are here, event structures, and when you go down to description, you will see that says the event structures contain data specific to each type of event in GDK. Okay, this is okay, but this part, watch, a common mistake is to forget to set the event mask to a widget so that the required events are resized. For that sends you to see about this function, which we're going to talk today, one of both. Okay, I will go on a little bit down here, and here we have all kinds of types and values for the event and so on, and I will just choose the GDK event scroll this time, because I want to talk to you about this event. Now here is the structure, which means during this event we can check type, has window, and a lot of information about the scroll event, but we are not gonna talk now about all of them. We are going to talk only about the scroll event itself, because I want to show you something. So that being said, we go back to our program, and I want to show you something, just to make you understand how you create and where exactly you put it and so on. This is the window, this is our button. So I will create a signal which catch scroll event on this button. Well, I'm not believing that you will need to scroll down and up button, but here the meaning of this is to show you how to work with this function and how you apply it to a specific widget. That's it. Okay, So I go out. I will going to comment out the click it signal, and we are going to create another one, which is scroll event, and scroll event, and we are going to call let's say a function, for example, scroll callback. Okay, we already know, once we are working with events, we need a function which returns gboolean and not a void function. So gboolean function, call it scrollback, which takes our 3 parameters. We already talked about them. The first one is the Gtk widget, which is a pointer widget. The second one is the Gdk event, and then event, and the last one, it will be our G pointer data. Okay, those 3 parameters are needed for this prototype of this function. And now we will drop the widget because we don't need it. So we will silence the compiler because we are not going to use this this pointer, this parameter. Now here we will pass our window because it happens here, and now we will say if, for example, let's say if event type, yes, it is Gdk scroll, so Gdk scroll. If it is a Gdk scroll event, yes, then we will say if, for example, I know event, I think I want to see event, I think it's a scroll, it is another, yeah, it is another structure. We will let it like this. So this means we need to access this structure 2, which is the child, Gdk scroll down, then we'll say gprint the scroll down was captured, for example. I'm not okay. And Gtk window set title, we'll set the title to this event to be the same like the first one. So we'll need to cast our data, Gtk window, okay, that was too fast, window data, and the second one is our title name. And then I will copy this one because I don't want to put it again, and I will say if the scroll is up, then the scroll up was catched, okay, return false and return true. Let's see what happens now. We created the function, we silenced the first widget because we don't use it, and then we are checking the event type. Our event type is Gdk scroll event, so we are checking if it's there. If it's there, then we are checking if the direction is down, then we are printed it and put it as a title 2, and we are checking if it's up, and if it's, then we are print it and put it on title 2. Okay, here we said gsignal connect button scroll event, which is our signal, and then we are calling our G callback. I forgot to cast it, and we are passing our window to as the last parameter of the gsignal connect, just to have access to it through data G pointer, so that we can set the title of this window. So I will run the program now. We have an arrow and says events a pointer. Of course it is a pointer, and it has to be, because we are using a pointer here, so we need to fix it. Now we are running the program, and watch, I'm using now my scroll up and down, and nothing's happened. Well, why is this happened? Why is not working? Let's go back a little bit to our reference, and then search about GTK button, and let's see. GTK button. Okay, we are here. We are going inside. We are checking the signals, and we will see that the GTK button has only 6 signals: activate, click it, enter, leave, press, and release. There is no scroll event signal. So that's the reason why it's not working. Okay, now we know that it's not there, and we know that we cannot use it, but I need it. How can I do it? Well, for this there are 2 functions. One, it's called Gdk Widget Set Events, which I will use it now. Let's put it here after we create a button, and before we proceed with it, let's search about this function and see. We will see what the difference is for this function. Where are you? Gtk event. See, that's the reason why I don't like, why I'm not like to use this, and you see I have to go back to use the search, and then I'm here. Now here we have 3 functions. One is the Gtk Widget Set Events, the second one is Get Events and Add Events. Get Events is from self-understanding. You get events which you have it, you get the mask, and the widget add and set events says the widget add adds the events in the bit fields events to the event mask for widget. See GTK. Okay, we'll see. And input handling overview for details. Parameter are 2. The first is the widget, which gets this event, and the second one is the mask, which it's getting. So this is the add one. Okay, let's use this one. Okay, let's take the add. Says the GTK widget. Okay, we know that our button has to be, okay, button. Okay, and the second one has to be an event. Here is the mask. I will right click on it and open another page. Says, it's so funny, says that the page is not found, which of course this is a joke, because we need a scroll event. So how can I get it if it's not there? I go back. Let's see if we can get it from here somehow, somewhere. Hello there, GTK event mask. still again not okay. I cannot point you right now because I'm not sure where and how can I work with this. Wait a second. So I was searching about this GTK event mask, and I'm not pointed it directly to this enumeration, but we will go through events, and then we'll go all the way down to types and values, and here are our enumeration, and I will click on this enumeration and I will search for, and all the way down here here is the GTK scroll mask, which says Resize scroll event. Okay, so if that being said, we need this one. Let's use it. So now we called this function Gtk Widget Set Events, and then we put this event to our button, and then we'll connect this signal to our button after, and we are calling our gcallback scrollback function, which is here, and now we'll run the program and see what happens. Let's see. The program works fine. I will turn up and down my scroll and say the scroll up was catched, the scroll down was catched, and works fine. If I go to this window, it's not working. I go back to the button and it's working. Okay, this is about GTK add events. Let's see what's happened if we change it to set events. I go here and works fine too. Okay, now I know that both works, but why both, and which one is the right one and which one is maybe the wrong one? Why should I use the first one, or why should I use the second one? For that, let's go a little bit back to our GTK reference from the functions, and says here now is the set events. Watch closely. Says sets the event mask for a widget. We already saw it. The event mask determines which events a widget will receive, which means after you call this function, the only widgets which they are received are those which you are set into the mask. What this means, I will show you. Keep in mind, says, that different widgets have different defaults, event masks, and by changing the event mask you may disrupt a widget's functionality, so be careful, says. Okay, this function must be called while a widget is unrealized. So consider GTK widget add events for widgets that are already realized, or if you want to preserve the existing event mask. This function cannot be used with widgets that have no window. Of course it has. For that we need to create events, so we need an event box. For example, when you create a grid box and you want to catch some signal on that box, or maybe a label, and you want to catch a signal from that label, but the label itself has no window, so before you can catch a signal to that label, you need to put that label into an event box, and just only after that you can set or add events. Okay, this is a lot of theory, but there is no help providing these things, so I really need to know how and when should I use one of both. Okay, what do we know? We know that we have a button. The important thing says here, this function must be called while a widget is unrealized. This means you call the function after you create it and before you call it, whatever, before you print it. So in this case it's not important if it's here, CL is wherever it is, because we are calling the window, and once you call the window, then I mean, once you show the window, you will show basically all widgets. Okay, now let's say we know that we can set events to a button, and we can know that we can we know that we can add an event. This means we can set more events here by using a mask with OR, with the help of OR. But before we proceed with that, let's create some different and crazy thing. Let's create a new signal, call it button press event. Okay, let's use this one, and let's call a function I know button, for example, callback. Again, we need to cast it to G callback, and okay, we create a signal. We created a GTK button press mask. Okay, we set events. I want to show you something. Just before that, we need to create a new function, so I will copy this to go faster. Button callback. Okay, and let's say here we will also silence the widget because we don't need it. And then now we're gonna say if event type it's GDK button press, then because it is, yes, we'll say G print now let's say the mouse click it the button. So let's say that the mouse click at the button. Okay, now GTK window set title to say GTK window, our data pointer, and as title we are going to use the same title here too, and of course we need to pass it as a string like this. Okay, we'll return also here false and true. Okay, now we created this button callback function for our signal, and then we silenced the widget because we don't need it. So we don't need the button, we need only its events, not the button itself. So we are not interested on this widget, and then we were catching the event, which is a event type, okay, of GTK button press. Because the button press exists, we are printed it and put it as a title, and that's it. There's nothing special. Here's the signal, the event signal, which is connected to this button. Once that is there, then the callback function button callback will be called. Let's see what happens. Now I will use the scroll, and it doesn't work. The mouse click the button, and then we have a problem. Houston, we have a problem. Let's see. Yes, first because our window is missing here. Okay, we go back. Let's see again what happens. The scroll down and up is not working anymore, and the mouse left right is working fine. Okay, why is not working? Let's see. Let me show you something. For this I move this part up here, and then I want to show you something. Now I run the program again so that you see where the difference is. Like I said, when I scroll up, scroll down, nothing happens, but mouse click event is catched. Okay, now I will just run this function just after I set the events masks. So this means I just called the first one this one and the second one this one this time. Okay, I run the program again. Let's see, we have a scroll up, scroll down this time, and we have the mouse click too. Now works fine. This means we had to call second as the after we need to set events to this button, the scroll event to this button, after we set the button press mask to our button, not before. But how do I know that? I mean, why is that? Why is not working? Well, one reason is that here says keep in mind that different widgets have different default values event mask, and by changing the event mask you may disrupt a widget functionality, so be careful. Well, we already know which are those events, so just to remember, events has priority, which means, and like in this case, once that you call the button press max and you set it, then you can add more events. But when you call the scroll mask first one, then the button press mask will override this, will basically delete it, is like not existing anymore, and at this point the scroll event will not be catched and the scroll callback will not be called. So because you know that, one to fix it is to call after it, or even better, use a mask for it. This means put it here with the help of the OR, like this one, in just one call, run the program, and once you have it here, you have your scroll and you have the mouse click, and works fine. Okay, that's good. This is about GTK Widget Set Events. I know that where the difference is, and I know how I should use it now. I mean, you already noticed that by calling this function you are playing with default signals, and default signals you can override them, or if you call them in the wrong way, you can make them to be the only one which are working, so you cannot catch other events. For these, always remember, always when you call GTK Widget Set Events, use it in this function like into a mask, and then after you are using this mask, you can basically be sure that all events you are needed to your button are catched in the right order, or at least they are working fine, both no matter if it's the first or the second one. And okay, now why and how, or let's say, do I need this function? Well, you don't need it, because if you need it, you need to create all these masks. This means you know that you need events, you know that your widget has a window, so you know that you need to add event and not a set event. This means you will add it with GTK add events, this one, and also you will add this event with GTK scroll mask with add with event. I mean, GTK widget add events will be used always when your widget has a window, and you will set events when your widget doesn't have a window. That being said, when I run the program now, you will see that the scroll up and down and also the button click works fine. If I'm changing the order here and putting the scroll max after you create a button, makes no difference because you're only adding events, you are not modifying the default mask. So you know that this is the right way how you should work with adding and setting widgets, by adding widgets to adding events to widgets which they have a window, and setting windows to widgets which they don't have a window. And that being said, for example, if you change a button with your label, and then you create a label has no window, so because it doesn't have a window, you cannot use none of them. I don't set. Before you can create a mask, an event mask, you need to create an event box where you can catch those events. This means after you create your window, your main window, you create an event box. After you create your event box, then you add the label to the event box, and just after that you set events. You don't add it, you set them, because they are not there, so you create them. But in this case you only need to add events, because our widget has a window, so the set event is not important, and should not be used, because there is no reason to do it. Okay, and the last part is we said we will talk about GTK set event, GTK add events, and about name event or name event. Where is the difference? Well, let's see what happens if we change the underscore, and also here we'll run the program, and you will notice that the program, of course, works fine. This because GTK passes this with the underscore, and it's not important if you are using this one or this one. So this means you can use it even like this, or you can use an underscore. It works just same, perfect fine. But one thing which you cannot do it, you cannot mess one with another one, which means if I put like this one and I will try to run the program, basically in the moment when you run it, you already get here, see signal button press event is invalid, for instance, of the GTK button is invalid because this one should not be here, like one here and the other one there. Okay, so that being said, that's all about events and all about the way how you call callback functions by catching different types of signals. Most of them are just those signals like click it and so on, which you're interested in a button, for example, being pressed, and then you take a decision about that situation when the button was pressed, like closing a program or doing something with that press, or you can make a better decision being said not just about checking if a button was clicked, but checking if a button was clicked, and then if that button was clicked, for example, how was that button clicked, which mouse button was used, for example, left click, right click, middle click, and so on. And we'll learn about scroll events, about how you are using them, how you can apply them to some widgets which they don't have this kind of scroll event, but for some reasons you want to use them, and then for this you need those two functions, which are GTK Widget Set Events and GTK Add Events. And then of course now you understand where the main difference is, and when and why should I call the first one, and when and why should I call the second one. And after now that you understand all those things, I think you can work and create big applications which helps you to work with GTK in almost all possible situations. Okay, thank you guys for watching, and if you like it, please subscribe, and until next tutorial, see you guys.